Hey everyone, it's Amanda Lua from AML Equestrian Coaching, and I am here today to talk to you about your distances, your pole distances. So quite a few of you know I've already done a few of these videos, but I didn't seem to cover off all the bases on what everybody's questions were. So I think I've got everyone's questions in my head now, and we're going to run through it. Firstly, one of the questions that I didn't expect was what size of pole to use. Now, I like to use a 3 meter long to 3.6 meter long pole and no less in diameter than 80 millimeters and no larger than 100 millimeters. I don't like the skinny poles because they bounce around too much, and I prefer not to use short poles for the majority of the patterns because they restrict your ride lines. Less shorter pole, less ride lines, and it makes it a bit tricky to set up a triangle as well, unless you have ponies. If you've got ponies or small striding horses, then your 2.6 meter poles can work. Distances, so our standard universal distances, guys, walk is 80 centimeters to a meter, but I will go as low as 60 centimeters to 1.10 meters for walk distances, depending on the horse that I have doing the pattern. Your trot distances universally are 1.20 meters to 1.45 meters. Again, I'll go as low as 1.10 meters for a collected trot, or for a trot for a smaller striding horse or pony, right through to 1.55 meters for some of the big warm bloods that I've had through. It's wild, but those big elastic moving warm bloods can really cover some ground in their trot. Then your canter distances universally are stated in feet, which is directly related to jumping terms, because canter poles have traditionally been used for jump training, so they're still described in feet. If you want to know what the metric is for your canter distances, just use a free Google calculator or something and put whatever your distance is and translate it to the metric, so you can get your centimeters or meters for the canter strides that you're doing. So, but canter is 9 feet for a bounce and 12 feet for one canter stride. When you have a horse that is more educated in dressage, so really anything from elementary up, their canter stride starts to shorten, even the big horses. So you want to be really aware of that, because if you try and make, say, a medium advanced horse do a 12-foot canter stride, it's going to make them long and strung out, and your riders will get really, really cranky if you make them do that to their horse's canter. So if you're a coach, keep your canter distances a little shorter for the more advanced dressage horses. If you are a more advanced dressage rider and have a more advanced dressage horse, you are going to need to know what your canter distance is for your individual horse. So leading into that, when you start doing your pole work and you want to sort out your distances, your individual horses' distances, have a helper. Throw out a couple of poles at walk, trot, and canter distances, just the standard distances, and walk, trot, and canter through them, say 3 times each. And by that stage, you will start to have a feel of whether it is too long or too short. Get your helper to roll the poles in or out accordingly. Get them to measure what the distance is that then feels comfortable and like the working pace for your horse. And then you have a base distance to work from with your patterns. So any of you who know me and use my patterns know that you can use my patterns to change the quality of pace or change the distance in your trot. So you can use some of my patterns to train collected trot. You can use it to train a bigger trot. You can use it to train more jump in the canter, all of those sorts of things. But you really, really need to know your horse's individual distances for the patterns to work how they're supposed to work. One of my pet hates is seeing people running clinics or trying to ride pole work that is obviously at the wrong distance, and it's really counterproductive for the horse. All it does is frighten them because they can't get their feet where they're supposed to be. They can't maintain a rhythm, and they can't maintain the sequence of each gait in their footfalls. All right, next things, measuring your distances. So another pet hate of mine is seeing people tell other people that they just do 4 heel to toes to get their distance for, say, that would maybe be a walk distance. That's fine if you have measured out the distance with a tape measure and you know how many heel to toe steps you can get in that distance. But your feet are going to be a different size to your friends or whoever you're advising on the internet. Don't do that, because then it sets people up for failure. If you can't learn to get your distances in a rhythm from stepping it out like this, then you need to use a tape measure. So how do we use the tape measure? Pull your tape measure out. So let's do 80 centimeter walk distance. So we go out to 80 centimeters, set the tape measure, put the tape measure on the ground. So we're putting the tape measure on the ground and we roll a pole in so that the tape measure is on the inside of the pole and on this side as well. And then you can bring it up so it's straight. And I have a neat 80 centimeter distance, okay? So say you have that 80 centimeter distance and you want to do your heel to toe measurements, then you would go foot here, and so I don't even quite have 3 footsteps in there. So that's, again, why it makes it really tricky to use heel to toe methods in setting out your distances, and it takes a long time to do it that way as well. You're actually probably quicker using a tape measure the first couple of times that you set up your patterns. But the way I've done it over the years, and granted I've done this thousands of times now, so it's in my muscle memory, is learnt what the size step is that I need in order to do a walk, trot, and canter distance. So this is what you would effectively do. Come around, go to the center of your poles, put your foot where you think the horse needs to take off from. So this is a walk distance, so we're going to be quite close. And I've got a slightly smaller than average walk stride of my own to get the walk distance through there. And once you've done this over and over, you start to get a feel for it, but use a tape measure at first. In relation to and so you do that for your trot as well. And in relation to your canter distances, the one thing that was sort of nailed into us as kids in eventing and show jumping was to know how to step out your strides. Like, yes, you see people going around with the measuring wheels, but when you are walking a show jumping course or a cross country course, you really want to have a feel of your strides as you're going through your jump lines. So if you're a jumper, you need to know how to walk a 12-foot canter stride. So on the wall, I have a 3.6 meter long pole, which is essentially about 12 feet. And I'm going to show you what they used to get us to do as kids over and over so that we got a rhythm in walking at distances. We basically cut the pole into 4 sections and walk 4 steps. So 4 of your steps at the distance that suits your walk stride to fit those 4 steps in is your 12 feet. So my partner, who is nearly 6'2", he would have to do much smaller steps to fit the 4 strides in there, 4 human steps, 4 human strides like this in. For me, it's pretty much on average, maybe a little bit bigger, but let's have a look. I'll show you. So there you can see it's a little bit bigger than my average walk stride. And that's how I would walk across a cross-country course for distances, or when I'm doing like related lines or combinations, and for show jumping as well, obviously. It's good even if you even if you're, say, a high-level dressage rider who's wanting to train pole work, still know what your distances are walking out for a 12-foot pole, and then you can just bring it down. All right, so one of the other questions that I've been asked over and over is how to set out a fan. So we're going to set out a fan now. The trick to setting out a fan is to drop the middle pole of the fan first. So if you do that, it's much easier to set the type of curve out that you want. If you set the first or the last pole, sometimes the curve goes a little bit wonky. So set the middle pole out first and then build your fan around that. So say this is my middle pole. So I've dropped that. Imagine I've dropped that. And we want to make it into a 3-pole fan. So I'm going to move this one over and I'll grab this one. Drop that there. And your average ride line for a fan is just sort of to the outside of the center line. So there's your center line, but your working trot line is going to be about here. So I would say that this is about 1.30 meters in distance. Let's have a look. Yep, bang on, exactly 1.30 meters. So, and that's just from my experience in knowing what distance my steps are from doing it over and over for 1.30 meters. And I like to use 1.30 meters as a base working trot distance for my clinics. If I wanted to send a horse through that had a bigger stride, I would ask them to come a little wider and they'd have to use their outside aids more effectively. If I had a horse that was shorter stepping in stride, then they would have to come in a little closer or even a little closer again for the ponies. One thing that you do want to pay attention to when you're setting up a fan is how close you have the inside edge of the poles, all right? So if you have these poles too close, it makes the fan a steeper line to ride. So there's more of a curve, and the curve comes up faster, which makes it harder to ride. Yes, you can use it like that, but only if your horse is quite educated and you're a more advanced level rider. If you're a coach setting up a fan for clinics, don't make it too steep. Don't have it like a McDonald's bend, like that sort of like M shape to your fans. Have them just a soft curve so it makes it easier and a more positive experience for your riders. If you were training a fan for multiple strides, multiple types of trot, so you could come through and go walk through here, then a little bit of a more of a working trot, or say a shorter trot but not quite collected through here, and then your standard trot distance here, and then more of a lengthened trot distance here. And that is going to be a really, really effective workout for your horse, especially if you have 6 to 8 foals in your fan. That teaches you to adjust the pace, ride a line. It teaches your horse to think about, this is Creed, it teaches your horse to think about what your aids are a little bit more, gets them to focus more on what you're asking and what's in front of them and how to adjust their own body to the fan. Make sure too that you're not letting your horses dive through the chest. It's hard when you first start pole work with horses and they're not strong. They will come up in front and start to find a balance point once they get more core strength. But if you've got a horse that is wanting to push through their chest all the time, just keep the intensity and the complexity of your patterns a little lower. And then as they get stronger, you'll start to feel them bring their balance point back and they open their gullet and keep their nose up and out in front of the vertical, okay? You again going to be counterproductive if you just run through big patterns with your horses on the forehand. Okay, so in relation to triangles, it's another question I've been asked, which I hadn't answered with previous distance videos. Triangles, again, you don't want to be using poles any shorter than 3 meters. So these ones are 3 meters. There's multiple ways you can ride a triangle. Triangle is one of my favorite exercises to just throw out. Takes 2 seconds to throw a triangle out, and there's so many things you can do with it. When you do set up a triangle, try and make sure that the point is dead center with the base pole. So from all corners, okay? And sometimes you need to get down low and make sure that it is, because the lay of the land and where you put your poles can sometimes distort how they look and how they're placed. Now, when we're talking about a bounce canter, we want 9 feet. So there's 3 of my steps. So I've got 1, 2, 3. The horse, that's like a really neat type of working canter distance. If your horse has a shorter canter and you don't want to go, you still want to do a bounce, but you don't want the horse to be getting strung out and flat, take a shorter line. So instead of going base pole to point, it's still a really good accuracy training exercise, and you can just slice through. So this would be 1, 2, so that's about 8.5 feet there. So that's a better line for the higher level dressage horses or ponies even. So you're still going to create more jump to the canter. You've still got to hold a line. You've still got to maintain accuracy, but you're not getting the horse flat and strung out, okay? I think that's it. When I start setting the patterns up to ride and show you all how they're ridden, I'll show you directly with the horses how to ride triangle, so watch that space. But I think that's it, guys. If you have any more questions, please just email me or message me on my Facebook page. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free, and it's the best way for you to get proper demonstrations and visuals of how to do my pole work and the other exercises, groundwork, jumping grids, that sort of thing will be coming. Also, I'm now an affiliate for Obsbot, the camera that I'm using. It's taken me a while to find a camera that will track and follow my horse without losing quality. Obsbot is awesome. If you want one of your own, they're cheaper than a Pixum or Pixio. They're a lot smoother in their tracking than one of those, and they are more expensive than a Pivo, but I haven't found it to lose me like a Pivo does. You can use it in most weather. It does have the ability to attach a microphone to it. At the moment, I don't have any mic on, so this is how good the sound is within about a 12-meter distance. If I go too far away, the built-in mic in the camera will lose me, but up close, it's great. And I think that's about it. So if you want your own Obsbot, you can get a small discount by using my affiliate code or the coupon code that will be shown somewhere below. So happy riding. Bear with me while I get used to doing this whole video thing. And again, if you have any questions, please just send me a message. If you've got anything specific that you want me to demonstrate, please let me know and I will do my best to accommodate. Cheers, everyone.